So explain to us what libertarian is.
I hear that all the time. Let me tell you what libertarian is. Libertarian is someone who says you can be as liberal or as conservative as you want to be. Just don't force others to be like you.
Got it.
That's what we are all about. We are all about long-term solutions, not short-term solutions. We're all about changing culture, not just changing law. Law, we have to remember something. At the end of almost every single law is a guy or a gal with a gun who will put you in a cage. And if you don't want to go in that cage, he or she is going to kill you. That means you only use law when it really matters, not just because I'm angry, not because I don't like you, not because you should do some activity I think you shouldn't do, or whatever the case may be. It's only for important things like life and liberty and property and things like that. That's when you use violence. That's when you use force. That's what libertarians are all about.
Hey, it's Larry Sharp here. So happy to see you today. It's about after 3 p.m. on the East Coast. And yes, it is Libertarians Drinking Coffee Live. And here is my coffee and my water. So I can do both at the same time. I've got it all afternoon, little push, I think. I am very happy today. I have with me someone who I both love and respect. I have someone who is a former governor candidate for Arkansas, a former senatorial candidate for Arkansas. He's not playing games. Both of them been on a debate stage more times than most libertarians all combined. Played the heavy hitter game. He's also the president of the Libertarian Policy Institute, the man himself, Ricky Harrington Jr. How are you, sir?
If it got any better, I wouldn't know how to act.
There we go. I love that. That's amazing. I love it. Also having coffee. Love it, as is the rules. I appreciate that. If you want to see what Ricky's doing, you can follow him two different places. You can follow him on Twitter at Rick D. Harrington, or check out the Libertarian Policy Institute at libertarianpolicy.org. So I got to ask, Ricky, you ran for Senate against Tom Cotton back in the day. Now seems like forever ago. And when you did that, it was a hard fight. Didn't go as well as you wanted. Obviously, you was hoping to win, but you did well. People were impressed. You were on the debate stage. What made you go at this again for governor? What made that happen? Why didn't you just go, you know what, I'm done. I'll see you in 6 years. What made you go for governor?
Well, I wanted us to get ballot access. I wanted us to get that 3%. That's one of the main things. We got to open it up. We need more people participating in the political discourse.
Yep.
And my whole platform, it's still going to stay, on my heart, of criminal justice reform, of healthcare reform, and an educational reform that, democratizes the educational system instead of putting, roadblocks or letting people go into debt for an education whenever it's all over the place. There's all information all over the place. Why put that roadblock in people's way? Anyway, I'm getting on that one.
No, it's fine. The thing that most people don't know about your background, some people do, is you're a prison pastor. That had to formulate, or that had to affect you. I mean, I knew you were a missionary in the past, and then a prison pastor. That had to affect you and make you think differently about policy, right?
Absolutely. And my first year of being a chaplain, I participated in 8 executions. So wow. that's a huge thing right there. There's only 3 other chaplains, 4 in total, that have that experience in the entire United States. So, that changed everything.
Of course.
My dad worked in corrections, and so
did mine, by the way. Mine was in Rikers Island.
Oh man, I know he probably got a whole lot of stories.
Absolutely.
Great stories.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, that part, I love that aspect. So you wanted to push forward, and for you in Arkansas, is it 3% on any statewide race, or specifically governor race? What is it? What's the rules in Arkansas?
I wish that was the case, because the Senate race would have counted toward that for us, but it's only the presidential or the gubernatorial.
Same in New York. Yeah, same in New York. We are 2% or 130,000 votes, whichever is greater, whichever is more. That's how we are. So yeah, it's a problem. So I'm glad you made the run, but I mean, obviously you're up against, I think most people would agree, particularly in a red state, a powerhouse in Sanders. I mean, that's a powerhouse, right?
Yes, they shuffled the whole deck of recruits whenever she finally announced. Even the attorney general, she moved out the way. The former lieutenant governor moved out the way, though they were both elected to their respective positions. It's just the Republican Party just has too much power, and they do
Yes.
not consider the wants or the needs of the minority. So I have a problem with that. And if the Democrats were doing the same thing, I'd call them out on it too.
They're doing it in my state.
If the Libertarians were doing it, I'd call them out on that too. And we just kind of
Absolutely.
need to get back to some integrity about the way we deal with stuff in our society.
That is the part that most people don't get on why we have to run some executives in the Libertarian Party. Even though we may lose, we have to run them because the executives get the attention that shows people that, you know, in your state, the Republican Party runs everything. In my state, Democrats run everything.
Mm-hmm.
They act the same, right?
Yeah.
What we want, you guys just shut up. We'll give you some crumbs every once in a while. Be happy you got some crumbs and don't complain. That's how the Democrats work in my state. And I feel the same the Republicans work in your state.
The revenge politics is,
Yes,
it's just too much, because we're going to keep seeing some people that are ready to be, radicalized. And I don't mean it in a good way.
agreed.
I mean, in the bad way, the people that are quick to do violence against other human beings because of their political beliefs. I mean, that's what human beings do to one another. And we need to stop doing that to one another.
And I think we made a place where we have a situation now with the blood sport politics, left versus right, that now I don't even believe that I can win. Like, Ricky, I don't think that I can make my life better. So all I'm worried about is hurting the other. So now a win for me is, if I'm a Republican, I own the lib. If I'm a Democrat, I punish the Trumpster, right? All I care about is I got the other guy. And if I get the other guy, I mean, that's best I can do. It's almost like, and I say it's almost like sports, right? I'm a Yankee fan, obviously, New York City. I'm a Yankee fan, right? So when the Yankees win, I know lots of people in New York go, yay, we won, which is great. But did you really win, or did the wealthy Yankees win, right? They really won. And I don't mind that, but that's not politics, right? That's just a sports team that I enjoy. And I do love when the Yankees win. They didn't win this year, but I love when the Yankees win. And I do feel good when the Yankees win. But I don't fool myself into thinking, well, now I have political change. I just say my baseball team won. That's it, right? But we feel like if my political party wins, somehow I have change, but there isn't any.
Oh, there's absolutely no change. The one thing that is consistent is their hunger for power and the willingness to use force on other people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, you had a Democrat running, a guy by the name of Jones. Was he in my state, and I'm only assuming it's the same in yours, right? So correct me if I'm wrong here. The Republicans run in my state as a sacrificial lamb just to raise money so that people can grift. To be so that you're clear in my state how blue my state is. A Republican has not won any statewide election in 22 years. Nothing. Not governor, senator, AG, lieutenant governor, nothing. It has not won any statewide election in 22 years. My district is so blue that New York City, where I live, my city councilman, the Republicans haven't even run a candidate in 10 years. So whoever the Democrat is wins. No one runs against him for 10 years. And then 10 years ago, when someone ran against him, that Republican lost by 70 points. 7-0, not 17. He lost 85-15.
Gosh.
And then before that, they didn't run a Republican for 12 years. So in my district, a Republican has run once in 22 years. That's how blue my district and state is. So is there a similar thing? Like, did Jones believe he could win? Was he trying to make an impact? Why was he running?
Oh, I believe that, just like all of us, we try to run and win. For the Democrats, he, energized them a lot. They were, especially after the race with me and Cotton, and they didn't have a candidate there. So, they were happy to have a candidate. And Dr. Jones ran a pretty good positive campaign. You know, I set out trying to run a positive campaign, and we made pledge one another to not slander or talk, foul about one another. I wish we could have crossed swords a little bit more on policy. But the first debate that we had, we kind of joked around right before it all started about we're going to cross-examine one another. but the moderator, he wasn't having it.
but let me ask a question on that, right? You got about 30%, is that right, when you ran for Senate?
Yes, sir, about 33%.
There we go, 30%, exactly. So this isn't that what many libertarians don't get. They don't want us to have power, because a smart move for Democrats would have been to not run a candidate again and to just get behind you.
Yeah, that would have been the real political calculus there.
Correct, right? I know, because that's what I try to do here in New York. It didn't work. The Republicans were far more concerned about their own grift. They didn't. Did they do it because they were afraid of you? And it's a serious question. Did they say, wait a minute, if we don't run a candidate and this Harrington guy runs again and gets 40% this time or whatever, we're admitting that we can't win this state and we might as well stop and just get behind libertarians. Was that a fear?
I'm not too sure if that was a fear. But I do know that the DPA struggled quite a bit, Democratic Party of Arkansas. And so this campaign that Dr. Jones had ran kind of gave him another second win.
Okay.
But we have some of the same issues. In 2020, there were about, if I'm remembering correctly, about 70 seats in the Arkansas House that were unopposed.
Yeah.
So that's both Democrats and Republicans. They didn't have anyone. So there's pockets of, control for both parties in certain areas in the state. But, not too long ago, Mike Beebe was the governor of Arkansas. He was a Democrat. But, the Tea Party movement, it had a little spice on it that kind of changed some folks' opinions and kind of solidified them in the Republican Party.
Got it.
There might be some things that were a part of the Tea Party movement that got my attention, but I was not willing to join the Republican Party. So someone, brought my attention to the Libertarian Party, and, just again, there's so many things that already agree with libertarianism.
Yep.
And I could not go back to the major parties now. For somebody like me, if somebody's thinking about their political career only, go run for the other parties. But it's more than that for me. It's not about just getting elected. It is about this whole movement of liberty.
Well, I am sure that there are Democrats who are saying, Ricky, come run as a Democrat. I'm sure they've reached out to you already saying, come run as a Democrat. Come on, you could be a Liberty Democrat or a Freedom Democrat. I'm sure they've done. Haven't they reached out to you already?
Yes, people have asked me to come back. Whenever I first got it really serious about politics is whenever they passed the law increasing the number of signatures required by third parties in Arkansas. And so I went to the state capitol, testified against it. And the ironic thing was just about every single Republican on that committee came up and spoke to me after they had already voted on legislation to keep libertarians off the ballot, asking me, hey, are you planning to run? Are you going to run for something?
Right.
Just about every Republican. And I just thought that was funny,
Yeah. Well, you bring this up because people constantly, the major parties say, you libertarians, you're just working for the other. So they tell me that I'm working for Democrats. I guess they tell you you're working for Republicans, whatever, right? You're working for whomever they say you're working for. You're working for whoever to hurt the other. They always say that. You're grifting. And I'm like, well, then where's my grift money?
Yeah.
Right? If I'm grifting, I'm the worst grifter in the world then. Where's my money, right? Why didn't they write me a check?
I'm a poor grifter if that's the case, because I sure ain't got my Benjamin stacked up right.
That's exactly right. We are terrible grifters. Where's our money? I don't see any of it. So I wish they were giving me some money. If I'm going to get called the grifter, at least I'm going to get paid. I mean, at least get that.
Sure,
I get called the grifter and I don't get paid. It's even worse. So yes, I get that completely. So let me go one step further if I could. Of everything you had to deal with, I know you were hoping for 3%.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you weren't able to achieve that. I was trying to get in the ballot. I couldn't get in the ballot. I did worse than you did. What do you think was the biggest reason why you weren't able to get the numbers you wanted? Is it obvious to you now? Are you still doing an after action report? Or is it obvious, okay, this was the biggest factor?
I'm not sure exactly what was the biggest factor, but I will say that the infighting in our party definitely contributed to it.
Oh, yes.
There were some things that, the campaign was working on. I think I got an endorsement from Dr. Joe this year while we were running that race, but the infighting in our party is wasting human capital. It's wasting mental, emotional, and all those type of resources that we could be dedicating to the liberty movement. But I understand that libertarian thought has a degree of puritanism in it, if you understand what I mean.
Sure.
Because it tries to be good faith, or it tries to just take a look at the non-aggression principle.
Sure.
I mean, we take a vow to not initiate the force. We don't start nothing, there won't be nothing.
Right.
And so, that right there is one of the bedrocks of being a libertarian right there, is that don't start nothing, won't be nothing.
Right.
That's one thing I talk to a lot of people about on the campaign trail. But, back to this point here of we're struggling to deal with the pure idealism and then trying to make it work in the world. Mm-hmm. And we probably spend a little too much time on the academic part of it rather than the nuts and bolts of liberty. And the rubber meeting the road. And, as a candidate, and I'm sure you can say the same thing as well, the big party candidates, they show up, shake hands, kiss babies, do the speech, stump speech, the usual stuff. But the libertarian candidate, they not only, do they have to do that, but they also have to, do their own media contacts or
100%. Yep.
Write their own policy. And so we need to start building up our party where we have that type of infrastructure in the party. And if we're not going to do that, I mean, really, I'm wasting my time, and I'm not going to waste my time anymore.
No, I agree completely. A couple of things I want to bring up about that. One was what you said about the infrastructure, right? The infighting in a party in my race didn't affect my race at all. No one in New York State that was voting for me or that was even cared. That was not an issue. But what hurt me is I couldn't get good talent. That hurt me. Like I couldn't get a lot of good libertarian talent because it would go someplace else, not like me, be mad. A lot of people just left the party and wouldn't want to come on anybody's campaign. So I lost a lot of talent. I think that was a problem for me. I had talented people, but in a campaign, a statewide campaign, you need lots and lots of talented people. And I didn't have that. I also had a lot of people who weren't ready to volunteer as much, which was difficult for me. That was hard. But the state itself didn't care about our infighting at all. In fact, they didn't care about our party at all. They just want to get rid of me. That was their only issue. But you have a bigger point, which is I would watch TV to be up to speed on, the issues of the day, right? So I'd watch CNN or watch MSNBC or watch Fox or watch anything. And every single night, Fox News has Republican on. 6, 7, 8 Republicans on every night, candidates. MSNBC, CNN, every night, 6, 7, 8 candidates. Who had us on?
Yeah.
Right? The only person who had us on, believe it or not, was Kennedy. That was it. No one else had any of us on at all. So we had to fight to try to get everything else. And what I found was my biggest issue, I don't know if it was for you, my biggest issue wasn't the infighting in the party. That was something. Biggest issue for me was people in my state and people across the country believing in the red wave. When they believed in the red wave, then it became, there's no space for you libertarians because red wave. And that made a lot of people on the left say, I can't vote for you, Larry. I can't support you because the Republicans might take over and they're evil. And a Republican say, I can't support you, Larry. I can't get behind you. I'll give you money, Larry, because we might win this when and get rid of Democrats because they're evil. So both of them thought the other was evil and that I was in the way. That was the hardest thing for me during this campaign is me trying to get my crossover people. They didn't come. They stayed there. They didn't care. The judges didn't want to help me. They were like, good, get rid of Larry Sharpe. He's going to ruin the red wave. That's yes, which I told them was not going to happen. I told them exactly how it was going to work, and no one believed me. But that was my hardest. Did that affect you?
Well, we did have, the takeaway votes, issue come up.
Right.
And, I'm not going to sit here and say that I didn't have any help at all with my campaign. I definitely had a lot of help in Arkansas. And, the LPR, we stay peaceful with one another. We tried to keep some of the outside stuff out. But the one issue I did deal with was the perceived concept that I was going to take away votes from Dr. Jones.
Yes.
But, Miss Huckabee Sanders, she had outperformed the polls that were coming out. They had her in the mid to upper 50s. So she had gained some, and Dr. Jones had the last gubernatorial election that we had in 2018. I think Mr. Henderson got about 36%, and Dr. Jones got the same percentage. So that takeaway vote.
So that wasn't that big of a deal for you.
No, that the takeaway votes. It was perceived, but it didn't happen. It didn't happen that way.
So for those of you who want to follow what Ricky's doing now, head over to libertarianpolicy.org. He's the president of that organization, the Institute. And also you can follow him on Twitter at Rick D. Harrington. I want to cover, if I could, a couple of comments that have been popping up if I can.
All right.
John says, it's about time seeing you two chat live. Love you both. Thank you. But this is like our third time chatting together. This isn't our first. Yeah, John, you do your homework. We've been doing this for a while. And I'm kidding. I'm always happy to see him. Always. Absolutely. So yeah, Joe goes on. John, they have before. Yeah, absolutely correct. Absolutely. So Joe says, and I think he's talking about the prison chaplain dealing with executions. He's saying, don't listen the wrong way, but I hope that job won't be necessary in the future. I think we would all agree that the state shouldn't be executing people.
Yeah. As I said during my 2020 debate there, I mentioned Liddell Lee, and he was one of the inmates that were executed. And the ACLU and NAACP worked hard on his that appeal there to determine whether or not he actually committed the murder. And it was somebody else's DNA on that murder weapon there. So now, it's out there that the state might have executed an innocent person.
Right.
And so, I participated in that, talked to his family. And so I wish we have got to be absolutely sure that the person that's been executed did that, but I just really don't think that we should even institute that. Life in prison is going to be hell. Okay.
Right.
They're not going to be living it up in there. It's going to be hell.
Right. And it gives the opportunity that if we're wrong, they have a chance at having a life.
Yes.
Right. If we are wrong, there's a chance at having a life. I completely agree. Sam says, loving this conversation. So I guess we're winning. That's good. Kathy says, Ricky, your next campaign needs to have at least one infomercial, just like this interview with Larry. You're very personal and average Joe. That makes sense rather than excuses. Oh, I like that. Maybe we should do more of that. And you know what? She brings up something. When I was saying, where are the people, getting any type of press or interviewing skills or going back and forth? And I realized something. In the past 4 years since I ran last time in 2018, I think about what organization or what group or media has had the most Libertarian Party candidates on. That would be me. That would be me. Yes, I've had over 100 on. I've had over 100 Libertarian candidates on my show. Now, I wish I was like CNN and I could get millions of views. Well, they get hundreds of thousands. I wish I got I only get thousands of views. I wish I got more. But I realize that there aren't enough people who are doing candidates. People do activists all the time, right?
Yeah.
They do a lot of Libertarian activists. And at least 2/3 of those libertarian activists are actually Republicans. They aren't actually libertarians. At least 2/3 are actually Republicans who just call themselves libertarians.
Uh-huh.
But actually, people who run as libertarians, it is very rare to get a candidate on any type of mainstream media at all. Very rare. The only one I can think of is Kennedy will once will have me on when I'm running. But that's about it. So we have to fix this. This is the infrastructure you were talking about.
Yes. I don't know whether that's, you know, the libertarians, you know, coming together and maybe starting their own media group. I know we have Reason, you know, which is libertarian leaning, but not really.
The Reason's not our friend.
CNN is friends with the Democratic Party. Fox is friends with the Republican Party. They're pretty much the mouthpieces of the party on cable news.
Yep.
And, you know, it's pretty much party propaganda.
Yes.
Yes. You know,
but we need that too.
Yeah. Yeah, we need
it. as long as we're being honest, difference between you know why I can handle MSNBC and I can't handle CNN. There's only one reason. MSNBC doesn't play. They're like, we're about Democrats. That's it. That's what we're about. If you don't like it, why are you watching? That's who they are, right?
Yeah.
So at least I can respect the honesty. Fox the same way. Fox actually changed their thing from fair and balanced to standing up for what's right. They even changed it. So they're straight up. CNN pretends to not be partisan. That drives me crazy. Like they've got a pretentiousness, like we're not partisan, we're just fair. No, you're not. MSNBC tells you straight up. That's it. We're left. That's that. You don't like it, turn the channel. That's basically what they do.
Yeah.
And I can handle that. I know where I'm coming from, at least. Where they're coming from.
One of the problems I do have with cable television is there's just a little bit too much analysis that's being put forth as news.
Yes. Yes.
And I will watch a lot of foreign news outlets just to see what they're saying about our country and what they're saying about the things that happen in our country, just to get a totally different perspective, because I don't like, you know, being in that echo chamber, because sometimes you might miss something, and I sure hate missing things.
Yes. Well, I don't know if you've ever done it, take a couple of days in a row and watch like 3 days straight of like either the 8 or 9 o'clock hour of Fox, and then 3 days straight of the 8 or 9 o'clock hour of MSNBC. It's like we're two different countries. They don't even cover the same news. Like we're like two separate countries. If you watch 3 days of MSNBC and watch 3 days of Fox in the same days, they made the 8 o'clock hour of, say, Fox, maybe the 9 o'clock hour of MSNBC or something like that. The stories that are covered on the same day over those 3 days don't overlap at all. That blew my mind as I began to see more and more of that. This year, it was crystal clear. It's been happening for a while. Yeah. But this year, crystal clear. Like, they don't overlap at all.
Yes.
So it's very different.
And one of the most peculiar things for me is how, let's say you take a look at a photograph, or we take a look at some incident, and we can't agree on the simple facts of what actually happened in an incident.
Right.
This side is coming with their stuff and the other side's coming with their stuff, and we can't simply say that, okay, there's a person in this incident that's this and that, or another person in this incident that's this and that. Fill in the blanks. I mean, just simple stuff. Okay, let's agree on what's the basic facts of this incident.
Absolutely. Not at all. 100%. I agree. It's crazy. I'm going to grab a couple more of these. Joe says RCV. I agree. Ranked choice voting is the home run without question. For those of you who think that ranked choice voting is a bad idea, you are incorrect. It's a good idea. It's better than what we got now. Is it the perfect answer? It is not. It's not the perfect answer, but it is definitely a better answer than we have now, particularly if we do like top 5, top 4, not the jungle primary, which is the top 2. Should be top 3, top 4, something like that. Things get much better. So, yeah. That libertarian lady says Kennedy is the only one with any backbone. Spike Cohen gets lots of time too. I agree. Well, I have an advantage. I live in New York City. So for me to be on her show, it's, a half hour away. So that's a good thing. I can pop right into the city, into Manhattan. I live in Queens. I can pop into Manhattan and go into her show whenever I want. So whenever she wants me, not like I run her show, but whenever she wants me, it becomes easy that way. Yes. Jocelyn says, in Arkansas, the Dems thought they had a chance and pulled their previous support of Ricky. Is that true?
Well, you know, the Democrats did vote for me, and there were some people that held out and undervoted that race because I guess they weren't going to vote for a Libertarian. But, you know, I wish that in our electoral politics, people would spend more time looking at the candidate rather than, you know, just tell me how to vote straight Republican or straight Democrat or straight Libertarian.
Right.
You know, it's time to start looking at candidates. But I understand why.
The problem with that, though, right? And I noticed this, and you noticed this too. You mentioned a very important point earlier. You said, as a libertarian, we don't have to just, you know, kiss babies and shake hands, but we also have to do things like write policy and such.
Yes.
Other candidates don't have to write policy. They just have to say the other guy's evil. They don't have to have an answer, which is one of the reasons why I told people there wasn't going to be a massive red wave. And people didn't know how I knew that. I said it won't be a massive red wave because there was no positive message. People don't change because things are bad. People change because things are bad and they see hope.
Yes, yes.
Those two things happen, then they change. All we had this year was bad. If you were on the right, you had Trump's MAGA back in 2016. If you were on the left, you had Obama's Hope and Change 2008. That's where the big change came in because things were bad, but you had something that said, here's the good thing, right? We're going to have hope and change. We're going to make America great again, whatever side you were on. And that's where you had a big wave. This year, all we had was Democrats are evil, Republicans are evil. There was no answer to anything. That was our biggest issue.
Our politics in America is extremely superficial.
Yes.
I mean, it's hollow, it's superficial. It's pure marketing, you know, what's the flashy looking type stuff, you know, come up with some short slogan, you know, the same stuff that's in American marketing has been translated into our politics. And, you know, one thing that I made a purpose of doing whenever I went to town halls or candidate forums was to rekindle that American spirit that's in all of us, that's right in the back of our minds when people start talking about liberty, freedom, and justice and all those things and equality. All of us agree with those things.
Yep.
And so we got to start with the low-hanging fruit.
Yes, agreed completely. I'm totally on board. Valerie says, yes, Larry's right. There was a crazy split in New York. Larry got screwed by politicians, Democrat and Republicans, and then the damn judges put the final stake in his running. She's not wrong. She's not wrong. The system was against me, but that's okay. The thing that I like about this is that literally they had to spend tens of thousands of dollars suing me in civil court to get rid of me. They didn't do that last time, which means they knew I was a threat. They knew that the third party is that's why Yang's doing his thing. Yeah. Yang knows that third party is a thing. People want it. So he's trying his thing with forward, right? Will it work? I don't know. I have no idea if it'll work or not. But that's what he's trying. And we libertarians, we've been trying this for too many years, sadly. We've still been trying it. But now I feel like, you know, you got in the debate stage. Shane Hazel got in the debate stage, right? Chase Oliver got in the debate stage, right? A bunch of people got in the debate stage, right? So a lot of people got in the debate stage for the first time in many years. And they were worried we were going to make real impact. And Chase caused a runoff, right? Yeah. So, I mean, we are having impact.
He followed in Shane's footsteps right there.
100%. We are definitely having impact. So as bad as it was, I do feel like we did make some impact, though.
Yes, absolutely. I believe that we are making impact, and I hope we continue to make positive impact.
Yeah.
You know, not all attention is good attention. You know, tell my children that all the time. And it is that way in politics. We did have a significant amount of earned media. And as I think back about it, I think it was kind of two-pronged. Well, for one thing, Miss Huckabee Sanders was avoiding the press. And so I lost count how many times just the earned media that we had in Arkansas. Now, I did not have the fundraising to do a lot of paid advertising, but the earned media was just as good.
Sure.
Or if not even better, because not only are you building a relationship with the media and displaying that you are at least a serious candidate, competent in what you're saying and personable, and at least have a grip of what's going on in your community. That's something to build off of. And so if there's any candidates listening to this right now, every time that camera is in front of you, every time that mic is in front of you, you better knock it out of the park. Every time. You can't miss it.
I know that's the hard part. That's the hard part, because they don't give us any leeway. A Democrat Republican can say something, the dumbest thing in the world, and they'll get over it. We say one thing dumb, that's the end. That they destroy us. 100% true. So if you're saying this, so does that mean that there's something next for you, right? Does that mean that because you built this up in Arkansas, that, you know what, maybe you're going to run for something in 2024 or something in 2026, or do the rematch, you and Cotton back in the ring? Is it something, assuming that Cotton's even still senator, if he doesn't go off and become, something else at the national level, secretary or something, if the Republicans win, who knows?
Yeah.
But what are you thinking?
If he runs again in 2026, Lord willing, if it's the Lord's will, I will oppose him again. And
there we go.
I'll do whatever I have to get to look that dude in the face. Did I ever tell you that I do it whenever I go speak at some of the other conventions of other libertarians in the nation? When I first met Senator Cotton, it was whenever we were filing back in 2019 for the races. Everybody's up there on the first day. And Tom Cotton is tall. I mean, he's like 6'6" or something like that. And so he's head taller than everybody in there. And everybody's seeing him. They shaking his hand, giving him his chops, smiling in his face, and he's smiling back at everybody. And he was just ahead of me signing his papers. And I was thinking to myself, well, I'm not going to let this chance pass me by to at least introduce myself to the senator. And so when he got up and he walked by, I introduced myself. I said, hello, Senator Cotton. He had a big old smile on his face. I said, my name's Ricky Dale Harrington Jr., and I'll be your opponent, and wiped the smile off his face. And he just turned around and walked off. Didn't say a word.
Wow.
Wow.
So as long as everybody was, kissing his rear end, he was all happy. But as soon as someone was like, you know what, I'm gonna give a little bit of a pushback, he was like, that's it, I'm out.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I'm a peaceful guy. I don't like to start stuff with anybody. And I treat people with dignity and respect. I did that even with the inmates when I worked in the prisons. And so, I won't say that I won't say that it's personal, but I will oppose him every opportunity that I have.
There we go. I like that. Patty says, fear of the other guy was very strong this past election. Everybody yelling hooray for our side. Yeah, but you're right. And then no change.
Yeah.
Right? Absolutely. Dave says the Demo-publicans always think that libertarians steal votes. If libertarians steal votes, we suck at it because we never steal enough to win. He's right. We are terrible vote stealers and we're terrible grifters. We're bad at this. We got to stop. We're terrible at this. It's not good. I love it. So that's good. Let's see. Zach says, Ricky is one of the best representatives of the Liberty movement. I agree completely. I can't wait to see your successes in the future. Look, all I know, Ricky, is you have motivated many people to want to do something. People want to be like you. I hope you stay around whatever you decide to do, because to your earlier point of the party having problems, the party has a lot of problems. It has had problems for years, if not decades. I said years ago, the party's a dumpster fire on wheels. It still is. But without it, we're walking. There is literally no better vehicle for change, regardless of how bad the party is. At this moment, there's no better vehicle. If there's a better vehicle, I'm open to it. If there is one, there's no better vehicle for political change. I
agree with you. And I've said this every time I go and speak at another state, that I'm sticking around with the Libertarian Party. I know that some people are very angry at some others that have joined or that are saying things that might be anti-Semitic or are anti-Semitic. We if we holding true to that non-aggression principle, that involves hate as well.
Agreed.
If we don't want to force things on others, you definitely have to have a degree of love for that other person. Respect, at least the minimum respect. I just think that we need to get to work. And I know that there's been people just holding the rope for me to even be here as a libertarian, because it's been here longer than I've been alive. And there have been people in the party longer than I've been in the party. I'm new to the party. But if I'm going to be a candidate and I'm talking in front of people and coming up with policy and things, and I've wrote policy before, and you see something that needs to change, I'm just throwing my 2 cents out there of how we can maybe start moving in the right direction as a party, and start getting, some libertarians elected to office, or making big headways, especially with the presidential races. It's going to be difficult in 2024 to launch that presidential campaign. I don't know who's going to be whatever, but we're going to need people in
The
all
only
the
guy
states.
now that I know is running is Mike Tremont.
Oh yes, he's the brother from Florida that's a former police officer.
Yep.
Right?
Now he's in Virginia. He moved to Virginia now. So yes, I know he's running right now. And that I from what I understand, already has raised 6 figures.
Oh, okay.
That's what I understand. So he's already got 6 figures put stocked up, and he's starting his plan now. He's trying to actually make something happen, which is awesome. I'm happy. I mean, we should have more people running early, right?
Yeah.
It's going to take that much time.
That is actually what is normal for other candidates in the major parties. They're years ahead before they plan to run. And I think if a lot of candidates also did that, if you want to run, if you want to get your feet wet, go ahead and run. But if you want to try to run a challenge race, give yourself some time, fundraise, get your platform ready, make it polished, make sure everything that you're going to do, you're ready to face anything, you're ready to play hardball with anybody.
Yep.
Because, I love playing hardball. I love the hard questions. I live for that stuff.
Absolutely.
That's just what I like.
100%.
Box is box. I'll go ahead and embrace the politician name. I don't care. I'm here to try to get some stuff done. You know what I mean? It don't matter to me.
I'm totally with you. I love it. Brian says, it has been clear for years that all traditional media has been presenting opinion shows as news. It used to be different. In other words, if you remember what it used to be, Brian, if you go back about maybe 15, 20 years or so in that area, early on, it was actually news. Like the first, up until like 6 or 7, it was actually news. Opinion didn't start till 7, 8, 9. That was like the prime time shows. That was kind of opinion. And they used to call it back in the day, news analysis. That's what they called it back in the day, right? So you'd have the news during the day and then news analysis like 7 or 8 o'clock. Now it's 24/7 analysis, right? That's all it is. Yes.
Analysis has its place because, not everybody understands. Let's say, I love foreign policy. Okay. Foreign policy hawk. There might be a particular area in the foreign world that I might know a lot of things about. But I might not know a lot of things about, let's say, Eastern European, political, just that whole geopolitics there. So there's obviously room for some analysis, but whenever you go to the point where you're trying to change my mind rather than, pull out a little extra meaning so I have that extra information about something, between relationships, when somebody's giving a little analysis about what's going on in Putin's mind, but they've been spending the past 25 years dealing with, Russian studies or Russian politics, we need people like that in our party. You know what I mean?
I think we do have them, but they're over here. They're not in. They're like on the outside. And the problem is, and this, you brought this point up earlier, right? When it comes to policy, you look at most politicians who are running in Democrat Republican Party, they don't actually have policy teams. They have communication teams. It's called, they call it comms. We have comms. That's communications team. it's one of the reasons why some of my policies, I get some great people on my policy team. Why? There's no other place to go. There's no one else creating policy, right? You either go to a think tank in which they try to sell the policy off to somebody, right? Or you come to a libertarian who's actually building policy.
Yeah.
Democrats, Republicans aren't building policy.
Yes.
They take their marching orders from above, and then their communications team tells them how to spin it for their specific media. You're totally correct. It's a totally different world. I feel like that's one of the reasons why we can't get change, because people aren't even trying to change.
And I think that because we're such a small party, and most of the candidates that do run, they're working full time and they're trying to run full time as well. It's very difficult.
Yeah,
it's hard to do that. And
it's one of the reasons why I would say run for something local, right? It's important to run for something local, and let people who can run statewide, right? I'm in a position to where I cannot work for a year, right? I'm okay. I'll go into debt for a year. I'll remake the money. So the last time I didn't work for a year. Not everyone can do that, right? Not everyone's in a position where you cannot work for a year. For the people who can do that, let them go off and do the statewide election and try to get the ballot access. Meanwhile, local people run local races, because you can probably have a life and run a local race most of the time. Not always, but you often can. Let a person who can't just stop working run a local race, and if they win, now they've got the ability to go to the next level. The one thing that people don't realize, and I said this literally when I spoke to the court in New York State, they didn't care, is we're creating a world to where only people who are already elected can run for office. So that means now all we have is literally an aristocracy that runs for office in New York State. And they were like, well, whatever, we don't care. But it's accurate. When I ran in 2018, 5 people were running. I was the only one not getting a government check. Everybody else was. And then this year, I was running with 2 others, both of them getting government checks. One was a sitting congressman, one was the current governor. So everybody running is a current government official. Yeah. So only the priests can get elected to Pope. That's it. No one else can even come around, right? That's it. Only the priests. And not even the priests, only the cardinals, right? I mean, not even the priests, only the cardinals can become Pope. That's it. That's where we are now. And only the priests can become cardinals. It's not good.
I don't understand why people don't realize how dangerous that is. I mean, it don't make a difference whether it's your team or not.
Correct. Yes.
If we're going to be serious about this liberty, this freedom, securing the blessings for people to pursue that life, liberty, and try to find some happiness in the world.
Absolutely.
I mean, just a little bit of it. We are a catastrophe away from being one party rule, just like China. Yes, some people would be okay with that. I will say right now, a lot of partisans would be perfectly okay with that.
100%. And I look at my own state, right? And when I was out trying to get signatures, there were a lot of people who I would just say, trying to get a third party on the ballot so that people have choices. And they'd say, well, wait a minute. Are you a Democrat? No, I'm not letting you on the ballot. They were happy to have no choice. They were against democracy.
Democracy? Save our democracy?
No, they were like, no, are you a Democrat? No, can't be on the ballot. So I'm like, and I would literally say, you don't have to vote for me. This allows me to be on the ballot. So if someone wants to vote for me, they can. No, you might take a vote away from my guy. I was like, wow. And that happened all the time. All the time. They wanted one party rule. Yes. I know it's insane, but it's totally true. Yes. So Dave says Cotton said he wasn't going to run for president. I think that's right, Dave, but I think Cotton, in theory, if a Republican wins in 2024, Cotton might get some type of like secretary or in the cabinet. That's possible. I don't know Cotton well enough to know that. I just know he's been around, that he might get something like that. That's what I was thinking.
And what do you think? I think I did some work to like crush his presidential hopes. Even though he won.
Nice.
he didn't have the minerals just to stand up there to the people. He might have won an election. He might have power right now, but he can't come talk to the people of Arkansas. So in my opinion, he's a coward.
There we go. Jocelyn says, Harrington for Senate 2026. You got some people who love you. I love that. I love that. Dave goes on to say, in the 1970s, the movie Network was satire. The news shows have become the movie network. Oh, nice. I like that. I do like that. Yes, I do like that. So let me ask you, Ricky, I mean, again, for those of you who want to follow what Ricky's doing, please head on over to libertarianpolicy.org to see his organization, or follow him on Twitter at Rick D. Harrington on Twitter. Is there anything we should be talking about that I missed? Something else that I should have popped up and I didn't ask about?
Well, I always want to encourage our brothers and sisters or anybody else that is working for the cause of liberty. Just find some place where you can get to work and start doing something.
Yes.
A quote I live by, it's a quote by St. Francis of Assisi. First, do what's necessary. Then you do what's possible. Then suddenly you're doing the impossible. Whenever I came back home from being a missionary in China, we were in transient homelessness. Me and my wife and 2 children at the time. I had no idea that in the next 6 years I'd be running for governor or running for United States Senate, or be the first Black man in the history of Arkansas to ever run for the Senate. The media won't give me my chops for that because I'm not their Negro. And I ain't nobody's Negro, to be honest with you. I ain't nobody's house.
I agree.
I'm
Absolutely.
my own man. I stand on my own principles.
100%.
You know, 100%. I mean, they ain't gonna give me my chops for that. I don't need the chops for that. I'm gonna keep on doing what I'm doing. And I encourage everybody in the liberty movement, get out there, get to work. Stop arguing on the internet. Start working together. Start building bridges, and start building them in your community first. Start proving to people that these ideas of libertarianism actually work. We need to show them something, give them something to see right now while you're talking to them. Let them know the ideas that you have in your mind actually have ramifications in their life in regards to how our government is acting, becoming more totalitarian, more authoritarian, whether it's red or blue, both of them doing the same thing. So get out there, get to work.
I love it. How could I possibly enter anything better than that? Everybody, I want to say thank you so much for watching today. I appreciate it. Again, if you want to find out what Ricky's doing, head on over to libertarianpolicy.org or follow him on Twitter at Rick D. Harrington. Everyone, thank you so much for watching today. I'll be back on tonight at 7 p.m. talking with Donnie the Don, the constitutionalist. So I will be on again tonight at 7 p.m. Until then, I will see you.